Scroll around, see the Vaishnavas have gathered. Lord Jagannath's mercy, he's drawing everyone to New York in time for a Rath Yatra.
Is it Adi Gadadhar Prabhu?
I think so, yeah. In person.
Wow. Hare Krishna, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this morning, coming from far and wide. So we'll start by chanting Jai Radha since that we have a nice group here in the temple. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Anta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Grace Adi Purush Prabhu ki jai. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Once again, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to everyone who's there online also. So we have about 5 verses to read through this morning, and I wanted to comment on them as we go. So I'll just chant the Mangalacharanam prayers first, and then we can chant the invocation Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and then I'll read through the verses and comment and discuss as we go along. Okay. So before I begin, I would like to first seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas that you see fit to bestow your mercy upon me so that I can speak something relevant and bona fide from this most exalted scripture, the Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially reading from the 10th canto, which is the smiling lotus face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also coming to the conclusion of this 10th canto. So his intimate loving pastimes. So seeking the blessings of Adi Purush Prabhu, and also we have with us a wonderful Adi Gadadhar Prabhu, we always see him online, but we get to see him in person today, like that. Only by the mercy of Vaishnavas is anything possible, so I'm therefore seeking the blessings. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll start with the Mangalachanam. Om Agana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militangena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Zajivam Sagretam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Antakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. So I don't know if Jeffrey Ackler, if you're able to share the verses on the screen with the devotees as I read through them. I'm not able to share them this morning. So we're reading from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 86, entitled Krishna or Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra and Krishna offers respects to his devotees. And we're starting at verse 55 and we will finish with verse 59. And this will actually be the end of this chapter. And anyone knows what the next chapter is that we'll be starting from tomorrow? Chapter 87, Prayers of the Personified Vedas. So if anyone is, that's a chapter that personally is one of my favorites, but it's actually one of the longest chapters in the whole 10th canto. And very, very ecstatic chapter. Okay, so we'll start with verse 55. Oh, we'll do the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Dushpragya viditvavam avajanatya suyava gurum mam vipramatmanam archada vijadrishtayaha. So do the word for word. Duspragya. Please repeat. Duspragya. Those of corrupted intelligence.
Those of corrupted intelligence.
Aviditva. Failing to understand. Evam. In this way. Avajananti. Neglect. Asuyavaha. And behave enviously toward Gurum, their spiritual master. Mam, me. Vipram, the learned Brahmana. Atmanam, their own self. Archa Adau, in the visibly manifest deity of the Lord. Ija, as being worshipable. Dristayaha, whose vision. So we have translation and future purports by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Followers of Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Ignorant of this truth, foolish people neglect and enviously offend a learned Brahmana, who, being non-different from me, is their spiritual master and very self. They consider worshipable only such obvious manifestations of divinity as my deity form. So this is part of the reason why I wanted to chant, because I want to comment as we go along, because just reading this first translation, there's so much in here. And but the first thing I wanted to do is try to catch us up. So the first thing that's stated here is ignorant of this truth. So we may not understand what truth is being spoken about. So it's important for us to understand the context. So let's go back here. So the previous verse, Krishna is speaking, and the setting is that Krishna is visiting two of his very dear devotees who are situated in, anyone knows where we're at? Mithila, yes. So he's visiting these dear devotees in Mithila, Mithila is most famously known as what? The place of who? Sita, King Janak. So it's this beautiful setting, but now Krishna is here and he's visiting two very dear friends. One is named, he's a Brahmana named Shrutadev, and the other is a king named Bahulashva, who is basically reigning. He's come in the lineage of King Janak, and he's ruling over this area of Videhi. So like this is the setting. Now Krishna is speaking to them because Krishna has traveled from Dwarka to Mithila, and he's brought some personalities with him. Some great sages have traveled on the chariot with him, one of those being Narada Muni. And so he's met these two wonderful devotees, Shrutadev and King Bahulashva, and he's expanded himself so that he could go and honor prasad at both of their homes at the same time. And at the same time, somehow he's also giving this instruction to both of them. And the instruction is specifically about how important it is to honor devotees. Yes, I would like to make devotees. He's specifically focusing on the Brahmanas because he's brought these sadhus or these sages here. But as we'll see, as the verses and purports unveil, that actually really who Krishna is glorifying here is his devotees. And he's glorifying his devotees to his devotees, but he's encouraging them here. So the instruction that he's just given is, and we heard yesterday, I think Brahmatirtha Prabhu gave class, and he focused on, anyone remembers the one word he focused on yesterday? Respect. Respect, yes, thank you. I believe he even played a little song, which is quite notorious for Brahmatirtha. So even my own, this is Krishna speaking, even my own four-armed form So Krishna speaking, even my own four-armed form is no dearer to me than a Brahmana. So here we have Krishna again, we hear him time and time again saying that basically more dear to me than even my own body is my devotees or the Brahmanas. Why? Because within himself, a learned Brahmana comprises all of the Vedas. Just as within myself, I comprise all of the demigods. So he's saying that within himself, the learned Brahmana is manifesting all of the knowledge of the Vedas. So we were hearing the other day during Bhagavat Shravan, Dinabandhu Prabhu, he was saying that how there's the verse that Vidura is glorified as being a walking tirtha. Wherever he goes is like the holy dhams are coming with him. And he says in the, I think it's in the first canto, he explains that actually the devotee is more holy than the river Ganges. And he was explaining why that is. And he said, because the river Ganges only once washed over the feet of the Lord in his form as Trivikram, as Vamanadev. But the devotee, his mind, his consciousness is washing over the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment. So therefore, the devotee is actually more purifying and more exalted than even the Ganga. So like that. So this is the instruction that he's giving. Now, he says, ignorant of this truth. So he's saying this is a truth. Then he says, foolish people neglect to follow this. To do what? To worship my devotees. And they offend the devotees or the Brahmanas, who are basically, again, Krishna says, who are non-different from me. Even before this, he says they're more valuable than me. They're better than me in one sense, because they are their spiritual master and their very self. And he says they consider worshipable only such obvious manifestations of divinity, such as my deity form. And what is Krishna describing here? What is the type of personality being described here? Usually we understand devotees are foolish, yes, but we understand that there are different adhikars or qualifications for personalities. And the first qualification is that they don't really recognize the devotees. They only see them and Krishna. It's just me and God. And I know when we were serving in London, we used to have this thing, especially during Bhagavatam class, we might have 15, 20, 30 devotees in the class. And someone would come in for, after the darshan had opened, and they would ring the bell, bing, ding, ding, really loud. And they'd walk right through the middle of the class, offer their obeisances to the deity, offer prayers, walk up to the bell again, ding, 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 and then walk out of the room. And it was as if nobody else was in the room except for them and the deity. And it's like, that's kind of that mentality. There's not the observation that, oh, here are the sadhus, here are the saintly persons who are just as dear or non-different from the Lord, listening to Bhagavatam, which is non-different from the Lord. So this understanding is kind of missed. So then the next verse, this is text 56, and I'll just read the translations for the factor of time. Because he has realized me, a Brahmana is firmly fixed in the knowledge that everything moving and non-moving in the universe, and also the primary elements of its creation, are all manifest forms expanded from me. So now he's beginning to explain. First he said that the Vedas rest inside, all knowledge of the Vedas rests inside of the devotee, just as all the demigods are inside of me. Now he's saying, which as soon as I read this, it reminded me of a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone knows which verse I might be thinking of? Everything is coming from the Lord. Yes. Iti madhva bhajanti mam amvitaha. Yes, so that my devotees, they know that everything is emanating from me, all spiritual and material worlds, and therefore, what do? They worship me with all of their hearts, Prabhupada explains, with all of their hearts. So like this, he's describing the devotees, again, glorifying the devotees. Text 57. Therefore, you should worship these Brahmana sages, O Brahmana. So he's speaking specifically here, he's talking to Shrutadev, but actually we see later that he's giving this exact same instruction simultaneously to both Shrutadev the Brahmana and also to King Bahulashva. So you should worship these Brahmana sages, O Brahmana, with the same faith you have in me. This is very, very instructive for us, how important the devotees of the Lord. Here he's saying the Brahmanas, but we understand, and I said as it goes on, we'll see that he's really referring to his devotees, because we know that actually a Vaishnava is beyond these four varnas, and they're actually considered higher. They can, not because they're better, but because they can act even outside of the idea of the varnas. Chatur varna mayashasham. They're just, their intention is simply to serve Krishna in whatever way is required. They're not caught up in any identification, which the Prabhupada will discuss here a little bit. That you should worship them with the same faith you have in me. If you do so, you will worship me directly. So this is like the perfect verses for devotee care. It's like just the perfect verses. Adi Purushar is always saying, what is this devotee care stuff you're doing? So this is it. We're just trying to help people to realize that actually the devotees are so important. All the service, all the mission for the service of the Lord, if we're bulldozing over the devotees, this is not going to be pleasing to the Lord ultimately. So if you do so, you will worship me directly, which you cannot do otherwise, even with offerings of vast riches. So no matter how much wealth, how much money, how much opulence you try to bring to me to worship me, you can't worship me directly. The only way to directly worship me is through my devotees. You have to please my devotees. Then you don't need to necessarily bring vast riches. We just need to create this loving atmosphere of loving relationships and exchanges. And then Krishna will be so pleased. Okay, text 58. Sri Shuka said, so instructed by his Lord with single-minded devotion, Shrutadev worshipped Sri Krishna, the topmost Brahmanas and the topmost Brahmanas accompanying him. And King Bahulashva did the same. Thus, both Shrutadev and the king attained the ultimate transcendental destination. So this is very instructive because they both heard from the Lord and then they both followed the instruction. Sometimes we may hear, but we may not follow. And sometimes we may try to follow something, but maybe we haven't actually heard so well, so correctly. So like this, what is the prachar and achar? So Lord Chaitanya instructed Haridas Thakur that some people, they have great prachar, which means they speak nicely, but their achar is not so good, the way they act or conduct themselves. And some people have good achar, but they don't speak so nicely. So they act well, but they don't speak good. He said, but you, Haridas Thakur, you have both prachar and achar. His Holiness Keshav Maharaj, he shared once this thing. He said, prachar, he said, achar, no, what did he say? He said, prachar without achar is just PR. Public relations means you're just talking like a politician kind of thing. So prachar without achar is simply PR. So like that. So the last verse 59, and then quite a stealthy purport. O king. So this is Shukadeva Goswami speaking to King Parikshit. O king, thus the personality of Godhead, who is devoted to his own devotees, stayed for some time with his two great devotees, Shrutadev and Bahulashva, teaching them the behavior of perfect saints. Then the Lord returned to Dwarka. So before reading the purport, it's so amazing. This is the love of the Lord. I was thinking, he was in Dwarka. How did he know Shrutadev and Bahulashva were, and then he made the trip directly to be with them. Then he expanded himself to spend time directly with both of them and instruct them how to become saintly. And he stayed with them for some time. Then he went back to Dwarka. So this purport. In this narration of this pastime in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada concludes. So everything that comes next is directly from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The instruction we receive from this incident is that King Bahulashva and Shrutadev, the Brahmana, were accepted by the Lord on the same level because both were pure devotees, which is an important point because here we have King Bahulashva, who is a king and obviously a Kshatriya, and then Shrutadev, who is a Brahmana, and in general we would be like hierarchy, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but here he's saying they were both worshipped equally because they're on the same level, because both of them are pure devotees of the Lord. Yes. This is the real qualification for being recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it has become the fashion of this age to become falsely proud of having taken birth in the family of a Kshatriya or a Brahmana. We see persons without any qualification claiming to be Brahmin or Kshatriya or even Vaishya. So we see this the other day at Matchless Gifts. We're doing this big renovation, and one devotee was meant to come and do the painting. And I said that basically if he doesn't show up, it's no problem. My grandfather was a painter. So because I'm born in the lineage of a painter, I can do the painting. And everyone started laughing because they knew it's absolutely not true. So just because you're born in the family, and my father was a carpenter, it doesn't mean in fact, I failed shop. So, trying to make things is not my forte. So like that, just because you're born, and Prabhupada would give the example that if you're born, in the family of a judge, doesn't make you a judge. If you're born in the family of a doctor, it doesn't make you a doctor, because these qualifications, this is determined by Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, that is determined by our qualities and our activities. So that is how we're meant to be known. But as it is stated in the scriptures, Kalau Shudra Sambhava, in this age of Kali, everyone is born a Shudra. And Prabhupada then goes into a very interesting section. He says this is because there is no performance of the purificatory process known as samskars, which begin from the time of the mother's pregnancy and continue up to the point of the individual's death. So this point on samskars. So of course we hear this term samskar. Basically, samskar simply means a deep impression. Sam means together. It's not just an individual, it's a collective impression. And skara, which means impression. We have in English the term scar, which means it leaves a mark. It's left there, you don't forget. So samskar is an event, a collective gathering or event, which generally leaves a deep impression in the consciousness. So these samskars, starting with Garbhodan samskar at the time of conception, can also be done later at the time when you do the simultaneanam ceremony. According to Gopal Bhatta Goswami, you can also chant those mantras then, and that's considered also the performance of Garbhodan. Simultanaya, the parting of the hair, and the presenting of a kavach for protection of the mother and the child, and then the rites for safe delivery are there. Then at the time of birth, the jata karma, before the umbilical cord is cut, the child, there's some little puja, the child is fed the child is fed grains at that time. Later we say that the Annaprashana is first grains, but actually the first grains come at the time of birth. There's little grains mixed with ghee. There's crushed grains that are meant to be crushed by a sadhu. And this is mixed with a tiny amount of ghee, and you're meant to feed the child with the silver spoon before the umbilical cord is cut. That's jata karma. So like that. Actually, some devotees, we know because we were doing these samskars in London, one family, Indian body girl, Western bodied husband, they were in the delivery room and like going through this. And then they're quite open, I think also here, that they will allow you to do, if you're religious and you have some ceremony when the child is born. So they were doing that, and they were just the two of them, and they were a little nervous because you don't know how all these doctors, all these nurses, there was like 8 or 10 people in the room, the anesthesiologist, everybody's there. And the child had come out, and then one lady said, I understand you're from, I think, Hindu faith, and you want to do some ceremony. And the husband was like, yeah, because of course the mother's like, she's like laid out after giving birth. And he's like a little nervous. And then the anesthesiologist said, oh, you're a Hare Krishna. And then she started chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then all the doctors started chanting Hare Krishna. And the whole room, the child had just been born, and everybody in the delivery room's chanting Hare Krishna. And the father said, like, his hair just like stood up on end, and he was like, oh my God, what is going on here? And later they were describing this to me, and I was just thinking, who is this child that as soon as they come into the world, they evoke the Maha Mantra and the presence? And this is the power of this next generation. And Prabhupada said by the 3rd generation, these devotees would just be instilled with special potency and power. So like this. So anyway, this samskars, they go on, and then you have first grains, haircutting ceremony, graduation ceremony, vivaha, and then ultimately the antyeshta ceremony, the passing at the time of death. So like this. And other little ones in between, but we usually focus on those. So Prabhupada says, this is because there is no performance of the purificatory processes known as samskar, which begin from the time of the mother's pregnancy and continue up to the point of the individual's death. No one can be classified as a member of a particular caste, especially of a higher caste, Brahmin, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, simply by birthright, if one is not purified by the process of the seed-giving ceremony. Prabhupada is really putting a lot of emphasis on samskars here. Not like so many other, not like the Sankirtan Yajna or something, but he's actually saying this purificatory process of samskar. Seed-giving ceremony or Garbhodan samskara. He is immediately classified among the Shudras if he doesn't do those, because only the Shudras do not undergo this purificatory process. Sex life without the purificatory process of Krishna consciousness is merely the seed-giving process of the Shudras or the animals. But Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection by which everyone can come to the platform of a Vaishnava. This includes having all the qualifications of a Brahmana. So Vaishnava includes Brahmana. All of the qualifications of a Brahmana are there in a Vaishnava. The Vaishnavas are trained to become freed from the 4 kinds of sinful activities: illicit sex, indulgence in intoxicants, gambling, and eating animal foodstuffs. No one can be on the Brahminical platform without having these preliminary qualifications, and without becoming a qualified Brahmana, one cannot become a pure devotee. So Prabhupada really makes them synonymously interactive. One has to become Brahminical to become a pure devotee, but one goes beyond being just a Brahmin or having this label. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 86th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Arjuna Kidnaps Subhadra and Krishna Blesses His Devotees. Confirmed. Hare Krishna. So we are at about 8 minutes to, and I'll conclude there. I commented a few things along the way. If anyone has any questions, comments, reflections, Arjuna Prabhu, Adi Prushu, any chastisements? Or anything? Okay. Here. I'm just going to point it out.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, sorry. Hare Krishna. I forgot the
My name is Mitra Vinda Devidasi. I'm a disciple of His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami. I
Yes,
wanted to
remember,
thank you for Hare
we
Krishna.
met, we met before. You're from Philadelphia, right?
I live in Philadelphia.
Philly. Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
I wanted to thank you so much for sharing, so compassionately, and there's a resonance to your voice. It's a vibration that's very calming, and it makes it very easy to absorb this knowledge. It's a tool. It's an asset to you, definitely. And I wanted to reference the samskaras, how important they are. At the same time, because the power of the holy names is most important and very purifying. Sometimes we can be a little judgmental. So if those, and I have children, and I actually insisted on all of their samskaras as a jiva in a female body, which sometimes is not listened to. But I insisted on it. I absolutely insisted on it. And that was because of my Guru Maharaj kind of sharing in a way that empowered me, not just as a jiva in a female body, but as a jiva and with a goal. So I encourage all jivas in female bodies to become educated. And because I had the opportunity to study yajna at my Guru Maharaj's permission, because I asked my godbrothers Brahmahurta, Jambavan, and all of those were then young and new to Krishna consciousness. And I was like, let me see about this. And so the importance of it is something to not be missed if you can. But generally, if mother understands it, then it can be a full follow through because she's the one that cares for the child. So as much as possible and as simply as possible to have these samskaras is beneficial because of what we are aspiring to do. Again, at the same time, the holy names, all the power in zillions of worlds. So if it wasn't done, then mothers holding their children and chanting while they're cooking and changing diapers and everything, because it's very difficult to have your hand in a bead bag while changing diapers and other things. But compassion for mothers, jivas in female bodies, and motherhood will help to advance our society in Krishna consciousness, and for mothers to be ferociously protective of their children as well. It is a great thing in community with fathers, and whether parents stay together or not, just have that mood of community and connection and compassion and focus for the end goal, which is helping people to come to Krishna consciousness and to stay there. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your commentary, Mother Mitra Bindu. Yes, very, very valuable, very important. Just made me think one thing also, around the samskaras. Obviously, they should always be accompanied by the chanting of Hare Krishna. Prabhupada introduced the whole culture. We were hearing a few weeks ago from Anutama Prabhu how different educators and learned scholars glorify Srila Prabhupada because he did something that actually can't be compared to even Jesus or Muhammad, who started their own movements, kind of thing, And he was saying that the closest person you can compare him, Prabhupada, to is Jesus and Muhammad, because they both started religions which have spread all around the world. But both of them started them amongst their own people, and they all had help, and they were in their own homeland. Prabhupada moved beyond that because he left his homeland. He came to a place that had no idea of the the culture and that he was bringing, and he had no help. And so therefore he's even on a much higher level. But he transported this entire Vedic culture to the West and seeded it just around the corner, by the way, at 26 Second Avenue, where it has sprouted and grown across the entire world. And with that is, he would often talk about the culture of Krishna consciousness and how by Krishna conscious culture. So there is actually a way we conduct ourselves in a way that we can live our lives, which makes Krishna consciousness very practical and implements it. So thank you for bringing that up, Samskars. And I think Adi Pushpru had something that he wanted to.
While you're handing it to Adi Purush, I just wanted to share, I'm making a garland right now for my youngest son's graduation.
Haribol!
So
Amazing.
thank you for mentioning, also celebrating and making the samskar of the importance of graduation. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, thank you, Krishna Kumar Devi.
And I hope that my son, you can all pray that Yogi inspires many to take to Krishna consciousness.
Haribol, so we can all do that by chanting very loudly. Haribol!
Haribol!
Haribol! Jai Yogi. Okay, let me switch it around here.
Wonderful class. Thank you so much. Really wonderful class. And Mataji pointed out very clearly, like it says in the Upadeshamrita. You can hear us okay? You can hear okay?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Points out that it's important. Sometimes people don't follow the rules and regulations. Or sometimes we follow the rules, the regulations, the rituals, the activities, the ceremonies, and we forget why we're doing it. She pointed out very carefully, these things are meant to please Krishna. Krishna is pleased when we care for the devotees, and we're not just facilitating elaborate material comfort for them, but we're assisting them in their service to Krishna. And Krishna is very pleased to see how society is ordered like that. That we have respect for those that are, and encouragement and assistance for those that are serving Krishna. When Krishna is pleased, everything else is accomplished. Sometimes we don't see the forest for the trees. We might engage in rituals, ceremonies, rules and regulations without love. It's a very simple point, but it lands there. Does this please Krishna? All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. Anyone else? Any comments? Any thoughts? Any reflections?
We want to see if Adi Gadadhar Prabhu has a question, maybe.
Sure. There you go, Adi, you're on.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Can you all hear him okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
They see him okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. I really enjoyed listening to your class and sitting in front of you and hearing it live. I feel it has a greater impact on the heart when you're sitting here. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to come to Bhakti Center and hear from you directly, Prabhu. I especially appreciate the point how you explained that Krishna went out of his way to visit Mithila, which is not near Dwarka. It's quite far. And he simultaneously expanded himself into two Krishnas to reciprocate with two pure devotees in two different ashrams or varna, and but the common denominator was both were pure devotees. And how Krishna gave simultaneously same instructions, and how for Shrutadev it was very hope-giving that you don't need so much money to worship Krishna. And for Maharaj Bahulashwa, it served as a good instruction that don't think it's just about money. And I also very much appreciated the point how you explained that not respecting the devotees, just focusing on the deity form of Krishna is, we're talking about adhikars, the three types of devotees, and it's a Kanishta adhikari. So I very much appreciated those points. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I think we're ready for darshan now. Everyone can Jai. Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. Bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from the lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my dark eyes, fills my heart with transcendence. He is my Lord, birth after birth. I know the static experiments by him making this story. They sing his character. O Master, be merciful to us. Give us shade under His feet. Give us the three worlds. To take shelter of your lotus feet. Prabhupada.
Thank you, Jai Nitai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the Afterglow. So our takeaway should be no ritual without love, no achar without prachar, no prachar without achar, no class without pertinent questions or burning reflections during the Afterglow. We'd like to ask Mathuranath Prabhu to speak. Mathuranath Prabhu, how are you?
I mean, Hari, I'm contemplative, feeling
Always.
grateful, feeling grateful for the association of Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. I'm really appreciating what would we do without devotees? If we just had Krishna, but we don't know how to relate to Krishna, we don't really know Krishna, and so what would we do without the devotees who we can contribute by trying to always talk about Krishna with the devotees, by always inquiring how can I be better? How can I do better in my service or my understanding? And that's what's happening for me right now. Thinking, how can we, and not to think I can do this alone. Prabhupada says that Krishna is always, he's never alone.
Yeah.
So that's also reflect, we also should think I can't do this alone. And also because Krishna is never alone, I want to join him in Goloka Vrindavan. And another reflection I've been having is, okay, if I want to go to Goloka Vrindavan, do I want to go because I want to escape the difficulties of the material world? Or do I want to go to actually be of service and be useful for Radha and Krishna's Leela and like this? Just some thoughts and reflections. Thank you for the class. It was really nice.
Thank you, Mathuranath Prabhu. When you make it there, please say a word from Morning Class Sangha. And don't go there alone, please. Jai. Would anyone else like to speak, dear devotees? Yeah, do not alienate yourself. Make sure you are surrounded by the devotees and you're engaged in service with the devotees. If you feel a little lonely, please throw yourself in the association of the devotees, whatever it may take. It's always worth it. And Krishna will make up for the inconvenience and for the austerity. Okay, Karen?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, can I just say,
Yeah.
I just wanted to acknowledge all of you, this sangha and this community of devotees, because I have been really I've felt really like connected in this community, even though it's like distant and I'm often not on here, and I'm just really grateful to maintain this and to check in and check out and check back in, and to just follow here and there where I can. It's really offered a kind of anchoring for me in my life, which is so not stable. It's not unstable, but I mean, not knowing where we're living and everything. So Hare Krishna, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, I can relate to that totally. Sometimes life gets chaotic. We don't know what our zip code will be tomorrow, but our zip code is Kirtan. That's our real zip code. We take shelter in the holy name, in the devotees, in the Shastra, in Srila Prabhupada, in our service. That's the constant. in our life. Everything else is flickering. Hare Krishna. Okay, Karen, why don't you unmute yourself and have Isaiah and Annabelle say Hare Krishna. This is ecstatic, Karen, isn't it?
It's like a Krishna rave here.
A stereo mantra. Yeah, cool. Krishna Kumari, would you like to? What's that thread? You
What?
weave in the holy name, Krishna Kumari.
I'm just making a garland for Yogi's graduation ceremony today. And yeah, he does stand out as a leader there, and he's always acknowledged by his teachers that he's got something really special going on. Yeah, he got a lot of recognition already this year, and today's graduation is, yeah, they know there's something very special. They give him awards, heart and soul, for the football team, like that.
Nice.
But I have
Nice.
to say how important it is that Karen's here, and we really, when you aren't here, we really miss you and the kids. And yeah, I really appreciate Mitravinda. I think these samskaras are super important. And we were at a ceremony on Sunday. My oldest son became the godfather of our friend's son Narayan, and it just builds it builds community, and it builds relationships by doing these simple little things. So yeah, invite your friends. We spontaneously invited the devotees over tonight for kirtan, so, and prasadam, of course.
Wonderful. You see, the spiritual world is going on in every family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, we said Hare Krishna. Hold on, we have
Can I say one more thing?
yes.
I just wanted to say that one thing that is really like also remarkable about this international society that is like, I see right now, I don't know if she's listening, but Narayani Dasi, I know her from Zurich, and it's not the first time I've bumped into a devotee from the Zurich temple on this call. So yeah, it's really kind of cool how sometimes there's like a little, I also ran into her and go over to Nico Village. Like it's like a family reunion when you come into everywhere you go in this community. So yeah. Hi. Hare Krishna. Are you in Switzerland? Cool.
Narayani is a very sincere soul. The devotees like Narayani Devi keep our movement going. She's always serving, always humble. Thank you, Narayani. And she's like Narada Muni, everywhere, here and there. Narayani, Narada Muni. They share one syllable, two syllables, and she's fulfilling, living up to her name. Thank you, Narayani. Okay, Dana Krishna's Radharani, please, we want to hear from you. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm just so grateful. Every time I come to these meetings, I feel sheltered. I feel like it brings me back to keeping the main thing the main thing. And I'm just grateful for that because it's so easy. I don't know if it was in one of these groups or not. Sorry, it all runs together sometimes, but where when you're really trying to get closer to Krishna, Maya comes in there and tests you, or, and I really think that's what's happening a lot daily. And it's like a mental, I can really see the mind too coming into that and playing into that and falling into the trap. So coming, and I can see how important association is, and the right association even within that. So I am just so grateful for all of you with all of my heart, and for always helping me in so many ways that you don't even know. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I love you guys so much.
Thank you, Dana Krishna's Radharani. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, King of Books, Ki Jai. All the devotees in our Sangha and outside too, Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, happy Tuesday. See you again tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam never ends. Hemangi, say hi to your camera shy family.